Hey there.
Hey,
How
how
are
was
you?
Italy?
Italy was good. I went and dropped my daughter off to do study abroad in Florence for the semester.
Hmm.
And, it's interesting comparing the types of cities, especially historical ones from the Renaissance, to more modern cities that we have today. In fact, I just got because they're 6 hours ahead of us, so I generally don't communicate with her until about 3 o'clock her time. But I just got a picture of people walking around town with their cats on leashes.
It's European.
I guess it is. Yeah.
My
So,
office mate is snuggled behind me under the blankets. So
oh yeah, he's there. Ours just went out for a walk because she's in this barking mode. So, but thanks for joining me today. I
yeah,
saw
sure.
you guys put out a white paper the other day, and I've been doing some of these LinkedIn lives with
Hmm.
George. So I thought, why not get our head of programs and marketing on today, and let's talk through the paper a little bit because it's quite the read. It's pretty lengthy and involved. So UCAS is becoming, I think, somewhat of a controversial topic. People that think it's dead, and people think that it's never going to die, and people that believe it still has life. So when you were prepping for the paper, I just kind of wondered anecdotally some of the things that you saw and heard that lent your paper in the direction that it's going.
Yeah. So I mean, my thesis when I came here from where I was before was that to me, voice isn't going away; it's just changing, and I think it follows the same evolution path that the iPod followed. In 2006, Apple sold a ton of iPods. MP3 players were all the rage. Heck, even Dell and Microsoft had made them, and people bought iPods, and separately, people bought flip phones. The Motorola Razr was the
Yeah,
hot thing, right?
yeah,
So we kind of look like Batman with utility belts with all these devices on us. And then in '07, Steve Jobs shook the world by unveiling a new platform, and that platform was a smartphone. And we didn't think of it as a platform at the time, but what it did was it swallowed up a lot of these physical standalone purchases and turned them digital into applications on your new platform, on your new device. And so my thesis was I would show somebody a UCAS offering that had messaging, video, and phone, and the customer would sit there and listen to me. They'd watch the demo, and then at the end of it, they increasingly 9 out of 10 of them said, "You know what? I don't need the M or the V. I just need the P. I don't need messaging. I don't need video. I've already got Teams for that. I've already got Zoom for that. I just need the P. I just need phone." So, my thesis led me to come here. I think your analogy that, we're the cheese for Microsoft and Zoom's hamburger really kind of resonated with what I was seeing in the market.
yeah,
And I think it's only accelerated. And I think channel partners and resellers are really struggling with the whole idea of who moved my cheese.
yeah.
This isn't 2020 anymore. You know, in 2020, my commute from the kitchen to my office, I would trip over 6 deals because everybody needed something and they needed it
Right,
right away.
right. There is a big rush for sure.
Yeah, in today's world, that's just not the case. I use the analogy with folks that, if this was musical chairs, the music stopped and everybody's got a tush and a cush. So if you're a channel partner, that means I've got to competitively displace something instead of just, greenfield sell something new. So I think a lot of partners wonder, is this mine tapped out? Is there any space in the UCAS market? I don't know if you saw it, but I shared a note from Rosenblatt this morning. Catherine
Yeah,
Trebnick posted this, that most of the standalone UCAS players are refocusing towards contact center because
I've
the
seen that
demand
a
is just
lot.
with Microsoft and Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah, and contact centers really evolved as well. Hey, when I got up, I got these to show you. So I was cleaning my office out yesterday
Hmm.
and I found these. Do you remember them? They're the little musical
Oh, the iPods?
Yeah, the little
Those are
tiny
iPod Nanos. I remember those.
love these.
You can
So,
turn those into a watch. They sell watch bands. You can turn them into a watch.
I don't even
Those
know
are
if I
great.
have the charger for them to see if they would even still work, but
The old 30-pin adapters. I'm sure I'm a dad. I'm sure I have a batch of those in my, wire drawer. We don't throw things away. You never know when you're going to run into a need for one of those cables. It
yeah.
just sits there and sits there.
So what do you see with partners that's working or not as they're kind of trying to make this change? I've seen a lot of people start to embrace contact center, but contact center can be kind of a big undertaking with longer sales cycles. And I think
Hmm.
phones still support people that are non-contact center, right? You and I
Yeah,
don't work in a contact center, but we still have a need to have voice options every day. So what are you seeing with our partners?
yeah, and I think the partners are responsive when they're shown a new way. Because the move to contact center, to your point, they're long sales cycles. There's a lot of revenue to generate out of them. I'm not looking to down contact center. We have a couple of
Yeah,
partnerships to deliver, into that space,
yeah,
but it's a different type of sale. It's a different type of market, and the reality is there's still a lot of gold left in the UCAS mine. You just need to know how to dig for it. And in today's world, that means selling something that's complementary to what the customer's already got instead of competitive. Instead of trying to, sell a standalone solution that integrates with Teams, you want to sell something that makes Teams works better. And I think that's really where the partners that we work with have seen new life in this marketplace, because by going to market and identifying the collaboration platform the customer's using. So first off, not trying to get them to move from A to B. Hey, you're on Teams, let me talk to you about Teams Phone. You're on Zoom, let me talk to you about Zoom Phone. Versus trying to say, hey, you should think about this standalone UCAS thing that integrates with one of those things or replaces it. Those partners, the ones that are seeing Teams as an opportunity, not an obstacle, those are the ones that are really accelerating into the market, because it's an easier sale, it's a faster sale, it's a higher margin sale.
yeah,
One of the things that partners don't realize is you can actually earn more by selling a service that your customers actually want, instead of trying to force something into that square peg when you've only got a round into that round hole when you've only got a square peg.
right, right. So what are you seeing? Demand gen was a big highlight
Hmm.
in the document. What are you seeing that partners are doing that's working from a demand gen perspective? And then what are some of the things that you're doing to help partners with that demand generation?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So the shotgun approach of the past, of like, I'm just going to cold call 100 people, and just the raw math means for every 100 calls I make, I'm going to find one lead, and for every 10 leads, I'm going to turn 3 of them into an opportunity. That reverse math just doesn't really work as well as it used to.
Yeah,
So what we've done and what we're coaching our partners to do is to use some research, and we give our research away for our partners to use to help develop kind of your ideal customer profile, or to really start to do some targeting, to find the needle in the haystack, instead of trying to, sweep the whole haystack up. And using research is like having a metal detector when you're waving over that haystack. It gives you a lot easier way to find it. So what we've done is we've said, where's the market going? What's saturated, what's still out there for growth. The good news is there's a lot of organizations that are looking, that are still looking for solutions. They're all primarily moving down market, so the opportunity starts to shift. It requires different lines of thought. And then
right.
it's also looking at, adoption rates. So on the Microsoft side, finding what that white space is. So one of the things that we've identified is the number of seats that are out there that have the phone system license, because they adopted the E5, A5 licensing tier for
Right.
security purposes or other things, but they haven't adopted phone yet.
Yeah, I
So they
mean,
got the license, they just haven't turned it on.
that should be like the simplest, most dummy-proof question to ask a customer. Do you have E5 or A5?
Yeah, and well,
They're entitled then.
and the key is, how do you find those customers that have it without having to, go through all of the ones that don't. So, what we've done with the research is we've said, all right, the market's going down market. The number of businesses that are out there with 1,000 employees and below that have adopted Teams Phone is probably 2 to 3 times the number that are up market. So there's a ton of opportunity. But then we said, research wise, what are the verticals that have most likely adopted that upper level office subscription because of the security entitlements? So this way we start to create this Venn diagram and find the overlap and find the bullseyes in the market. So when you go to your point and you have that question, you're asking a question you know the answer to,
Right.
based statistically. I know you probably have this, or it's dramatically cost effective for you to add it, versus trying to have that as another obstacle when you're trying to have that discussion with a customer.
Yeah. It's
So
kind
we've
of
been doing the research.
identified that there's 60 million of those entitlements out there.
Hmm.
And Microsoft has only put, well, we identified that there are 80 million out there, and
Hmm.
Microsoft only put PSTN in with the partners and carriers help, right? People like
Hmm.
SIPPIO. PSTN in 20 million. So that means there's a delta of 60 million that should be the lowest hanging fruit
Hmm.
um, to go after. I think if there is a way to kind of expedite capitalizing on that, I mean, Microsoft would really make their mark in the
Yeah.
industry as a leader in voice.
Yeah.
Because now they're kind of on the edge,
Hmm.
but I don't think they own the market share there quite yet.
No, I mean, if you think about the total UC market, there's, Avaya had about 90 something million phones deployed. Most of them weren't under contracts, but, there's still phones out there with an Avaya sticker on them. Cisco, I believe the UCM has roughly about the same number of phones that are out there. I'm not sure what the actual number is under contract, but,
Yeah.
there's a lot of devices that are just sitting out there. They're not being monetized by any partners or other beyond maintenance. They're not being upgraded by the vendors. So there's a ton of opportunity. So the 20 million seats, if you look at the cloud spaces, they're dominant. But if you look at the broader UC market, there's still a lot of runway out there for partners to capitalize on. So having the targeting to know I'm looking for businesses with employees of this size. I'm looking to really kind of get into these verticals because they probably already have the licensing that they need. And then other metrics that we've used, they're in the white paper, will help a partner to identify, again, the needles from the haystack. And then the question is demand gen. How do I go after those? So, you would ask, what are we doing to help? So we've made the research available. You can download the white paper on our website. But then for SIPPIO partners, we're also putting together campaign kits that are focused on specific verticals: content, infographics, presentations, demand gen. We're also going to be investing in partners this year with marketing development fund monies to help them grow that top of funnel, lead pipeline that is crucial for them succeeding in 2025 and beyond. So we've really gone beyond just making a product and giving you some margin to sell it, and we're
Mhm.
really providing the support on how to develop and grow your business inside of this marketplace.
Yeah, I think the vertical angle will be really interesting for partners to embrace because
Mhm.
even though in theory a phone works the same way in education and the same as a doctor's office or a lawyer's office or whatever, I think the rationale or the business outcome or the business justification of going down that path probably differs across industries. I saw the EDU Slick came out as well. So that's
Mhm.
really good to start. One of the things that I talk to George a lot about is AI, and
Mhm.
we're obviously leaning into it heavily in 2025. Why do you deem it necessary from a marketing standpoint for our partners to lean into the conversation? Because I've kind of been surprised some are, but some are not. And that
Mhm.
that surprised me because I feel like all I do is hear about AI everywhere.
Yeah. So got a lot of thoughts on this. So buckle up. You're going to get them all, right? So the first one for me So for me as a professional, AI has been a huge tool in my toolkit.
Yeah.
I've been able to way outproduce others because I've really, I think, harnessed it. I've gotten in early. I've really leveraged it in really interesting and creative ways. You and I know I've created a series of task specific GPTs
Yeah.
that focus on specific areas of marketing.
And
I
you
literally have one-on-one. What's that?
and you even named them.
I named them, but I also have one-on-one calls with them every week. So I have times put aside on my schedule to work with each individual GPT on different parts of what I'm doing in marketing, to help me with thought leadership, to help me with ideation, with brainstorming, to help kind of edit and create content. You can't outsource your work to it. You can't just say, "Hey, write me this paper." You'll get back something that is average at best.
Yeah.
But if you really learn how to leverage these tools, it's like giving Tony Stark Jarvis. Now all of a sudden I have the ability to really kind of produce at a higher level. But the key is you got to really embrace it, and you got to be curious, and you got to constantly be learning on this, because there are a million tools that are out there. It's not just Chat GPT. There's Chat GPT, there's Notebook LM, there's Sora for image generation. I mean, or for video generation. Now there's a ton of them that are out there, and every day there's new ones that come out. So you've got to constantly be curious about it. You've got to constantly be looking at it, and you've got to think of AI not as a workforce replacement. Like, we couldn't, just basically outsource marketing to an AI right now. It's just
Right.
not really
Somebody's
possible.
got to direct it and govern it and
Correct.
see it. And yeah.
It's a tool.
Right.
And the person who knows how to use AI will outperform somebody who doesn't.
Sure.
That's just the reality. It's like giving a
I
mechanic
already
a
see
power
that.
drill,
Yeah, I
you
already see
know?
it across our team, right?
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
got
exactly.
still doing things the old hard way and
So
sleep.
with partners, yeah. So I mean, with partners, the gift of AI as you're developing opportunities is, number one, it's taken the number one objection that you used to have to deal with off the table. When you're talking to a customer about adopting Teams phone or Zoom phone, the common refrain was the CIO would have, kind of the telecom angel and I'm just gonna say they're both angels, telecom angel and the Microsoft angel on their shoulders. Some
Yeah.
people may have different perspectives on who's an angel, who's not, but you got the telecom admin whispering in the ear, like, "Are you crazy? You can't do this. You can't go to Teams phone or Zoom phone. It's missing all these features. Call, park, and page. This place will melt down if you get rid of call, park, and page." And the Microsoft admin's like, "It's just, we're a Microsoft shop," or the Zoom admin, "We're a Zoom shop. Just move it. It's
Right.
easy." And the the CIO doesn't really know what to do, so that it was always an objection that the partner had to handle. But with generative AI built into these tools, Copilot on the Microsoft side, AI Companion on the Zoom side, it really eliminates that objection, because now, Mr. CIO, what's more important? Call, park, and page that was developed in the 70s, or giving your sales reps more time to talk to customers because they're not wasting time writing email follow-ups and tracking action items? AI is assisting in doing that work for them. And that really, is the number one benefit for partners, is that it helps get rid of that objection. But where there's a revenue opportunity for partners with AI is in what can easily lead to disillusionment with AI adoption. There is no UI for AI. There's no user interface. It's not like, hey, new feature, or there's a new app, I can just click on it, kind of see what it is and everything else. It's always kind of hiding underneath the surface. AI is only as good as the questions you ask it or
Sure.
the prompts
Yep.
that you put in. So for me, there's an opportunity for a channel partner to offer that type of enablement service to their customers on helping them get the most out of the AI investments that they make, helping them get the most out of using AI in not just writing great documents or creating PowerPoints, but also in getting the insights and processing the tasks that come up from communication. And partners make a ton of margin on pro services. This, to me, is a tool that belongs in that toolkit for partners, because Your customers are going to be hungry for it. They want to leverage this tool as best they can. They need that Oracle to teach them how to use this stuff. When I talk to people, how about I use AI? I can always kind of see the light bulb going off. Be that Oracle for your customer, and there's an opportunity for you to monetize it. It's not just a one-time thing either. As you come up with new prompts, as you come up with new capabilities, as you learn these new tools, this can be an ongoing subscription offer that partners could potentially offer their customers that would generate tremendous returns for them. So there's a lot of opportunity in harnessing the AI wave, and it's just starting to get going now that things are transitioning from Gen AI to
Well, I was going
agentic
to ask
AI.
about that because you talk about
Yeah,
that in the paper a little bit. AI's already advanced itself faster than Moore's law ever predicted
sure.
of anything in terms of processing power or chip size. But what's kind of causing that shift, and what do you see the benefit of that shift is? Because if you're still over here and it's already moving over here, like how are they
Hmm.
going to get caught up?
Well, so it's interesting on the AI space is interesting with DeepSeek and other things. Moore's law isn't just a straight line. With DeepSeek, we've seen kind of a impact back to, do we need as much compute? Do we need as much energy consumption? I think the audience is out on how much of an impact DeepSeek will make in that space. I think the answer will be yes. There still will be need for tremendous power and compute, but there'll also be areas of opportunity for efficiency. I was just listening to a great podcast with Aswath Damodaran from NYU Stern, who was talking about how you don't necessarily need these giant AI models when you're looking at a really niche type of thing. Like a finance AI doesn't need to know everything about everything. It just needs to know everything about finance. So you can use some of this to pull back on the resources to create really niche but really powerful tools. But you also have in the industry this trend from generative AI, which is, you put a prompt in and it gives you back a response, or it gives you back an image, it creates things, to agentic AI, where you trust AI to do the work for you. And a great analogy is agentic AI is like a self-driving car. You tell it where you want to go, and then you take your hands off the wheel. You don't watch the road. You just let it drive you where you want to go. Now, how close we are to that future, who knows? But that's a good example of agentic AI, is that you're trusting the AI to not only follow your initial tasks, but to actually digest changing situations and circumstances and make adjustments on its own. Generative AI is like having somebody having somebody in the back seat who can draw images of the scenery as you're driving by. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's that really kind of creative person next door. And then an LLM, or a large language model, which is kind of a hybrid of Gen AI, is like that person in the front seat who can tell you all about what you're going by, and tell you all about the scenes and all about the history of the area that you're traveling through. And again, you can see these are tools in a toolkit, not one that will replace the other or do they're all tools in a toolkit for partners. And Satya Nadella talks about how in the very near future, he believes people will be managing teams of agentic AI bots. So, individual contributors will have it, kind of like what I do with my Gen AI
Yep.
GPTs. You have a team of people or a team of bots that are doing specific functions for you, that you can use. How close we are, I don't know. I mean, Gen AI still hallucinates like crazy. Like I said, I can't tell Gen AI to write me, a research paper, a blog, because the output would be really kind of average or below average. So if we
Yeah.
can't get that right, are we that close to having agentic AI where I just don't even have to, keep my hands on the wheel, so to speak? I don't know. But I think it's important for people to understand, where the industry is going, and to be able to tap into that, especially resellers as they're talking to their customers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know. I think it's going to catch up like really fast just because it can learn from itself,
Hmm.
right? But to your point, it's only as good as the question you ask. I always think of it as like Jeopardy. Um, where you have to see the answer to know the question, or in this case, ask the right question,
Sure.
there with where it's going. So, kind of last thing, just to ask you about is fixed mobile. I know this keeps coming up. I
Hmm.
didn't get to the end of the paper. Is it in the paper?
It is.
It is. All right. I'll finish reading it. I was trying to get the Cliff's
What, you
Notes.
didn't get all 10 pages back on your plane ride back?
I'll finish it, I promise. But talk to me a little bit about fixed mobile convergence and where you think this is going. Um,
Yeah, so it's interesting because there's a lot of questions of, do we even really need a phone system? Is there a place for voice in today's world? We spend all day on scheduled Teams calls. Do I need a phone system? And the reality is, I think historically we've seen the phone system as the primary communications tool for business voice, and we've seen the cell phone as a secondary tool. So then we made apps. You put the app on the cell phone, so now I can, get my business calls on my cell phone. If I open the app, I can make an outbound call using my business line for caller ID purposes, for compliance purposes like call recording. But it's always kind of been a secondary player. It's always kind of been kludgy. Half the time I forget to open up the app to make the outbound call. I just my natural instinct is I open the phone app and I make the outbound call, but then I'm calling you from my personal line, not my business line.
yeah,
And I think fixed mobile convergence really is going to flip the roles where your cell phone it already is your primary way of calling someone.
yeah,
Most people don't use their soft phone as their primary. They use their cell phone. I'm just going to call you, and I make a phone call out. But having that deeply integrated, your cell phone, having it deeply integrated with your business communication system ensures compliance for like call recording, for call reporting. It simplifies it, so I don't have to open the app to make the outbound call. Because it's deeper integrated into the mobile networks, I have quality of service capabilities. I don't drop as many calls as I switch from Wi-Fi to cellular. But the ultimate benefit is that you're now saying, where are phone calls made, and supporting them no matter where you happen to be. Your cell phone's your primary, but your cell phone number is say your team's number. So when you're in the office, it's the same number on your desk. You can just answer it. If you need to get on the go, you can pick it up and answer it on your cell. So it's really merging the cellular device with the business communication system. And the nice part for the end user is that I don't have to think about it on my cell phone, but what it does for me is it keeps my personal communications private, and it keeps my corporate
right, right,
communications compliant.
yeah,
That's where I think that the key will be. The challenge with fixed mobile customers don't quite understand. It's like, I've got an app for that, don't I? What? Because that was the first version of this. But
right,
once you start using it, once you see it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so
yeah.
much better.
Well, I still see people carrying and lugging two phones around for that
Hmm.
purpose. So even though they don't necessarily understand the mechanics on the back end, if they're in a
Yeah.
highly regulated industry or security or a
Hmm.
thousand other different reasons why they carry two phones around,
Hmm.
that's where it
Yeah, it merges those two environments. That type of a user says, I want my personal communications private, and I want my corporate communications compliant. So
yeah,
they've adopted the solution of two pieces of hardware.
yeah,
Fixed mobile convergence can unify those two pieces to make it easier for the user
yeah,
and to make it easier for the business.
gotcha. Hey, we should probably wrap up here because
Yeah,
we've been talking for a while. Time just sort of goes by whenever I talk with you.
yeah,
But we have coming up in terms of events over the next couple of weeks that people might want to tune into.
yeah, yeah. We got a bunch of really exciting things coming up. We've got next week, on February 12th, we're going to be speaking with one of the founders of Cloud Revolution. They're going to be our partner spotlight in the SIPPIO Partner Exchange. So we're going to be jumping on a LinkedIn Live with Adam Ball to talk about their journey from basically launching a business and growing into one of Microsoft's key partners, and what they've kind of learned along the way. We've got a webinar for higher education institutions to understand the impact of modernizing their communications stack to leverage Teams or Zoom. So calling, text messaging, fax, customer engagement inside of these platforms. That's going to be on February 19th. You can sign up for the webinar at sippio.io/events, and I think Aaron might put that on the screen. You can just check our webpage or our LinkedIn profile to catch the LinkedIn Live with Adam next week. In case you missed it, in January, we had our first founder spotlight, and that was with Sean Torres from Intellicom, and that was a great interview. People have kind of given me some feedback. They really enjoyed hearing Sean's story.
Yeah,
So that's available for an on-demand replay as well.
yeah, he's a well followed, well liked individual, especially internally with his own team. So yeah, I saw a lot of commentary and follow up from that one.
Yeah, Sean's great.
Good. All right, so I've done a couple with George. We did one of these today. I'll have to ask you if you want to be asked back again, because I was thinking of maybe doing these on a more regular basis to talk about just kind of what's happening in industry, what's happening with us. Maybe we'll have a bring your pets day to our Thursday show, etc.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think we can definitely make that work.
All right, very good. Well, go make it a great day. Appreciate your time and efforts, and tell your chat bot team that I said hello.
I'll let them know they're getting the kudos.
Okay.
I'll see you
Great.
in Teams.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.